Hey everyone, what's up? Today I want to submit to you my review of the two-handed weapons and its skill tree, and we're going to discuss what it's like to use one, what are the advantages, and what are the drawbacks. First of all, I've been using two-handed weapons for about 35 levels on my sorcerer. Sorcerer, you ask? Yes, I've always been the kind of person to really do unorthodox builds and try to make them work. But I believe that thanks to the champion system and other things in this game, you can make a lot of those fun out there builds work, and that's kind of my goal. And I want to both review the weapons I use and the builds that I make, even though it'll take a little while. But I will eventually review the sorcerer class as well. But for now, it's the two-handed weapons. Two-handed weapons are definitely cool, though. I mean, you got these big hulking maces, two-handed battle axes, and giant great swords, and they all have really interesting ornate designs and just generally look really cool. Aside from the looks, though, they're slow. A lot slower than dual wielding, a lot slower than one-handed and shields. So wrap your mind around that slowness, because two-handed weapons are all about burst damage. Now let's discuss why. The first skill in your arsenal is called Cleave. A little bit amount of damage combined with a little bit more damage in damage over time. It's an okay skill. Some people use it to get a shield once it's morphed. Other people use it to generate ultimate in the other morph, and it's okay. Your next skill, Critical Charge, is your bread and butter charge skill. It is the distance closer and will help you get to those targets very quickly. I would definitely use it because it applies a slow once it's morphed. Uppercut is your next most used skill, as it is nothing but burst damage. Tons of damage with a 4-foot knockback and a 3.5 stun, and then when it's morphed, you do 20% more damage on your next hit. It's excellent. Next one is Reverse Slash, and I don't even use it. I never even liked it. The damage is low. You can use it to last hit, but I just never liked it. Reverse Slash does have a fast activation, like you can just use a skill and then use that skill right afterwards for quick damage, but it's only ever useful as on someone who's very low health, and then at that point you're just last hitting, which is, I don't know, more or less pointless in my opinion, so I just completely skip it. Your next skill, however, is Momentum. Now this isn't a skill that will help you deal damage from the skill itself, but it helps buff other damage. So it gives you 20% more damage on everything you do. Plus, it heals you for a little bit of health every 2 seconds. I've noticed its heal to be pretty good in PvP, but not as good in PvE. It's just not a lot of heal, but the extra damage is nice, and the effect itself looks cool. It doesn't cost a lot of stamina either, and it lasts a decent while. As for your passives, you get one that allows you to do extra damage to nearby enemies on your light and heavy attacks. I never picked it up because I never thought it would be useful at all, because the percentage starts at 13% and goes up to 26, I believe. It's not a ton. If you're going to do AoE, you might as well switch to a secondary weapon like a staff or something if you really want to go for AoE. Next one you have up for passive is Heavy Weapons, and it grants you different bonuses depending on your weapon type. So with swords you get more damage, axes give you bleed, and the maces ignore armor. Now, the only one that's useful there, in my opinion, is either the mace, because you ignore like 20% of their armor, or the maybe 5% extra damage with the swords, but honestly, the mace, I think, wins that one out. Next one you have is Balanced Blade, and it just equates to an extra 10 to 20% less resources used when you use spells. It's pretty nifty. I'd pick that one up. Our next one is Follow Up, and this one gives you a 5% damage bonus on your next attack after a fully charged heavy attack. And this one can be pretty good if you're going from a heavy attack to uppercut, because then the uppercut will deal just a little bit more damage, which is already a ton. I'd pick it up if you have the extra skill points. Next you have Battle Rush. I never got to this one, I was like one level off, but it says it boosts your stamina recovery by 15% after 10 seconds, for 10 seconds after killing a target. I could see that being pretty useful, because with a two-handed build, you will be using lots and lots of stamina. Alright, all the skills have been covered. So what is it like in PvE? Well, it's bursty. You have moments of high burst damage, and then other moments where you're not using those skills and you're just basic attacking. It's just, in my opinion, it's hit or miss. I don't feel like I'm doing a ton of damage, even though I'm wielding this giant hunk of iron and cleaving and essentially cleaving people in two. Like the skill cleave, just it doesn't do enough damage, even though it's like one of your few AoE attacks. It just does crap. Like you'd have to spam it over and over and over again. And it sucks because if all of the damage was instant, that would be great. But 60% of the damage is split into a damage over time. So spamming it in an AoE situation when you're surrounded by enemies just isn't all that viable. So it's good against single targets. Two-handeds are good against single targets for the most part. I wouldn't recommend it as anything AoE related. I would use a staff or even a bow for AoE. But not two-handed. Unless you're maybe a Dragon Knight and you got some and you have some AoE skills in there. Yeah, sure, that'd be fine. Otherwise, nah. Two-handed did allow me to stun enemies a lot, which I found was pretty useful in PvE and PvP. But for PvE, I would use the two-handed on either a Templar or a Dragon Knight. Definitely not a mage. I've had my fill of two-hand. I'm switching it up. I'm probably gonna go dual wield and just experiment and try to maximize different things. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Now, how does the two-handed weapon review in PvP? Well, once again, you're gonna meet that big brick wall that in big red letters says lack of DPS, because that's what it feels like. I'll be whacking on people all day long, and they'll always either be able to out-heal it or out-damage me, damaging them. And it's just a pain, and oftentimes I have to switch to my spells to compensate, and that's not fun. Ugh, and I probably shouldn't have chosen a sorcerer for this, but at the same time, like I said, I want to mix it up, because playing by the archetypes is boring. I don't want to have to be a Nightblade to be the best DPS, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to make it work, one way or another, but two-handed, it would take too many, especially in the champion system. I think it would take too much investment to get the outcome that I'm looking for. That said, you can use two-handed weapons as your secondary, for your secondary skill bar, so that you can switch to your two-handed really quickly to get off that really fast critical charge to slow people, and then uppercut them to stun them, and then switch back to your DPS set of skills. That would be pretty good. Plus you could use momentum, and I think momentum carries over from one skill bar, or from one weapon to another, maybe. I haven't tested it, but if it doesn't, oh well. You could just stick with your two-handed for a little bit to regain some health. It's not terrible. There might be better choices, but it's not terrible for secondary. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed my review of the two-handed weapon skill set. I will be reviewing the Sorcerer class next as part of my review everything about ESO shtick that I'm going to be doing here. But if you did enjoy the video, please give it a big fat like and subscribe for more. If you didn't, then I would still appreciate a like very much. You guys have a great one.